Welcome everyone to mechanical skills class DM DEM 231. The topic under discussion is workshop healthy and safety. The motivation behind this topic is that in most workplaces, mostly in the mines, where there are machineries, where there are falling logs, it used to happen that when workers goes for work, few gets back, others end up dying because of the accidents that they encounter during the process of work. So it's imperative that when the wives and children they see of their dad off for work, they are so optimistic that when the evening comes, the dad will come back. So this can only be attained if the working environment is safe for the workers, and we'll be expecting smiles on the wives and children when they see of that and they receive him back in the evening because of the proper working environment. So it was outcry of majority of the communities to say the work environment has to be improved on, especially on the safety aspect. Hence, this topic fits in to explain the rules that borders or that guides the safety in the work environment. So we are going to narrow down on few things, that is hazard identification, risk assessment, and how to control the risk or how to prevent the risk. The purpose of this study is to show that there is a formal process for hazard identification, risk assessment, control to effectively manage the workplace, and safety hazards within the workplace. So we don't want to see a situation where people are working without them knowing what will cause harm to their bodies. First and foremost, they have to identify areas or a source where harm will come from, and thereafter they have to know the kind of harm that will come as a result of that source, and putting up in place means on how to prevent them. The preamble to this is that persons conducting a business or any undertaking has an obligation under the Work Healthy and Safety Act 2011, as well as the Work Healthy and Safety Regulation 2011, to manage risk to healthy and safety so far as it is reasonably practical. A risk management approach involves identification and assessment of risk, followed by elimination of risk in the first instance or where this is not practicable, minimizing those so far as reasonable practical. There are places where it's difficult to eliminate the risk. So we can put up measures to at least circumvent that risk. Like in the mines, if you go underground, the risks of or the chances of a log falling from the walls, those haulages, is so high. It may happen at any time. So you can't eliminate completely that risk. Hence, you just provide proper PPE to the workers so that in an event any log falls, the miners themselves, they call it in vernacular to say any fall falls on anyone. At least that person will be protected. There will be safety on the person. So by virtue of the person, worker who is working in that environment where the thing is falling, they must put on adults. They must put on proper PPE so that they are safe. In doing so, at least we can minimize the risks so far as reasonable, practical. The risk management approach is important for three main reasons. Risk management, you have to, every institution, every environment organization, they have to put up a risk management, and it is important for following reasons. This is to ensure that the workers of that organization, they are cared for. Okay, the workers and the duty that they do is all cared for by the employers. So the care has to be provided by the employers. So when you do risk management, you show that you care for these workers, however way they and whatever place they do, as provided for in the legislative health and safety requirement. Also, it provides a concern, okay, for the health and safety of workers. So as employers or the employees, there is that concern, okay, that these people who are working in these workplaces are safe. Okay. The other aspect, it provides that saving on the part of the employers, because if an employee gets injured during work, the employer starts spending on that employee. Okay, so it provides that good business sense and is cost effective. So instead of you spending on this untreated or someone who is incapable of doing the work, you preserve the life of the worker, and also you preserve the savings instead of spending it on injured person. The key requirement of managing risk in the workplace is consulting with workers affected by the health and safety matters. So, how do you go about managing the risk? The easiest is to ask the very people who are involved in undertaking or doing the task in that workshop, because there are very people who are exposed to such risk, so they know even the source of such risk. So, in bringing them on board, involving them, so that you find the way out of how to eliminate or minimize such risk in such environment or working place. Workers should be involved in hazard identification, risk management, and risk control. If workers are not involved, the representative should be on board. In fact, when we are setting up a working place, first and foremost, you have to set up a plan on how we shall go to eliminate or overcome the risks. So, workers should be involved. If workers are not involved, their representatives should be called on board, so that you do the risk management together. The workplace hazard identification and assessment and control is an ongoing process. It should be undertaken at various times, including. So, at a workplace, the assessment, okay, hazard identification, the source of harm, the assessment of risks, as well as how we shall control them, should be an ongoing process. Okay, it shouldn't be like you just set up an environment, a workshop, put in the machinery, and allow people to work. No, time and again, you should frequently visit to identify new source of hazard. As workers are working, they are able to identify new source of hazard as included. If it is has not been done before, that is the hazard identification, assessment of risk as well as control, which hasn't been done before. You have to do that. When hazard has been identified, as workers are working, they identify new hazard. You have to do the complete hazard identification, assessment as well as control. When a change to the workplace may introduce or change hazard, such as when change occurs to the worker, to the work equipment, practice, procedure, and environment. Probably you workers go into another working environment, or in the same working environment, you bring in new equipment, such may introduce new hazards. So it is imperative that risk or hazard identification, as risk assessment as well as control is done regularly or periodically, so that you identify new hazard or prevent risks so that we can preserve the lives of the workers. So as at regular schedule time appropriate to the worker, we have to do such risk management. So it is more effective and easy to eliminate hazard if management approaches used at the planning and design stage for product, process, and places of work is done. We are setting up a workshop where there will be lathe machines, there will be drilling machines, and other equipment. So prior to giving it out to students or other workers to start working in that environment, there must be a plan. Okay? Well, now we shall have a plan of hazard identification, a plan of risk management, and also control of this risk. So such, if that is done, at least it helps people who are going there to know already what is there as source of hazard, also the risk, and how they should conduct themselves to prevent such kind of risks or such kind of harm on their lives. So the following procedure for risk management, okay, that is involving hazard identification, risk assessment, and control. So risk management involves hazard identification, risk assessment, as well as control or eliminating of that risk. It's practical guide for helping make all workplaces safer for workers, students, contractors, and other visitors. It will help both management and workers through consultation to comply with the work health safety regulation. These regulation requires person conducting business or any undertaking to identify, assess, and control hazard in the workplace with the aim of eliminating hazard. For minimizing hazards, do far as reasonable practical. So risk management, which involves hazard identification, risk assessment, as well as control, it provides the guide or which helps institutions, organizations, okay, to make their workplace safer for their workers. Even institutions like CBU, the environment has to be safe. The walls, the hostels, the buildings, they have to be safe for inhabitants of the students. There must be no source of hazard as students are occupying those hostels, as students are working in the workshop. So this is incumbent on the management to put up proper risk management so that we set up the environment to be safe for workers, students, and other stakeholders which are involved in. Recording risk management activities, including risk assessment and consultation process, is required. These procedures will assist in. So, be it in the workplace, be it in the mines, in the workshop, wherever you are going, whether at home, as well as whether you are working on anything, as well as a machine or a work environment, even in the community, as we are moving, there are always risks. So it's imperative that these procedures are adhered to. So first thing first, okay? If you are working in a workshop, let's take an example of a workshop, because this is a common place where machineries and other things are found. You have to identify the hazards which are found in that workshop. So hazards, I will define later in this topic, the definition of hazard. So things that will bring harm, okay, the potential to harm anyone, anybody, that is an hazard. So first thing, you have to find hazard in that environment, and thereafter, once you identify the hazards, then you have to assess the risk that may result from these hazards. The likelihood of the harm or possibility of harm occurring, on this person. So this harm may be illness, may be injury, may be anything. So likelihood of this harm happening to this person. So we have to assess what is the likelihood of this harm happening to this person. So first thing first, we identify any situation or environment that may be of potential to bring harm to a person. That is the hazard. And then to identify the likelihood, the possibility of causing this harm on the person, the illness and other things. Okay. Thereafter, after you identify the risks, you have to determine what measures should be put in place, okay, to eliminate or minimize the level of risk, or minimize the level of illness, minimize the level of injury, minimize the level of accidents. So measures, those are the control measures we're talking about. So these are the stages. First and foremost, whenever you just get into the workshop, you have to first identify, before you could touch anything, any machinery, you're undertaking a task or just getting into a workshop. By virtue of you being in a workshop as a student, you have to know what is the source of hazard as I am in this place. That's why it's imperative that student, every time you're getting into a workshop, put on the proper PPE, personal protective equipment. It's important because anything, as you are moving out along, you can bump yourself into maybe a metal. So if you are putting on a smart shoe, you injure yourself. Okay, anything that may fall, if you are putting on the safety shoe, then you are protected. So put on the proper PPE so that you are safe as you are in that environment. So source of hazard can be anything. Just the environment, the workshop itself is a source of hazard before you can even touch any equipment there. So after you do the assessing of risk, you do determination of control measures to eliminate or minimize the level of risk. Thereafter, it's imperative that you don't just stop on controlling these, providing measures to control these risks. You also provide regular checkups, okay? Regular review of all the measures that you have provided. Are the measures working out? Are we reducing on the risks? Are we preventing risk from occurring? So that should be done regularly, okay? You do a follow-up of every measures that you have put up, if you are working. If you are not working, put up other measures, find other measures and then put up so that you preserve the health and safety of workers. So let us look at the definition of hazards. Okay? So hazards is defined as any condition, situation, practice, behavior that has the potential to cause harm, including injury, disease, death, environmental property, as well as equipment damage. Anything which has got potential to damage equipment, to damage the environment, to damage the property, to cause disease on your body, okay, or cause death or injury. These are hazards. Say, imagine a situation, a tanker is carrying acid and it turns over, it flips, and the acid spills on the environment. So that acid will cause harm. So the tanker which is carrying acid, by virtue of it falling on the ground, it has become the hazard, okay? Because it's a hazard to your body, hazard to the environment itself, because it will damage all microbacteria and other things. So we have a situation where we can identify hazard. Hazard is just any situation, any condition, a place or behavior. Even people can be hazard to you. The way they conduct themselves toward you, okay? They can be source of hazard. You know, imagine a situation a child is being kept by a cruel parent, where the child is given hard labor. So the parents there, they are source of hazard because the risk of the child doing the hard labors may end up with the child being amputated or have any problem with health or psychological damage. So anything that is of potential to cause harm to your life is an hazard. So hazard identification, this process of examining each work area and work task for not limited to, for the purpose of identifying all the hazards which are inherent in a job. So there's, after you have known that the hazards, or how the hazard appear and how the hazard looks like, you have to move on to hazard identification. Okay, identify them because you know them. You know them, but identify them. So when you are working in a work area, say a workshop, they are hazard just by virtue of it being the workshop. Without any machinery, they are hazard. Or whether there are any machine, they are hazard. As you are working on any machine, and say, take an example of the lathe machine. The lathe machine has got rotating equipment or components which moves, sleds. So as you are working on that process, there are hazards. Probably even your work suit, if it's so loose and you're working on the lathe machine, any rotating machine, that loose clothing may be entangled with that rotating equipment and injure you. So even the loose work suit may cause harm to you. So that can be source of hazard. So work task itself is important that you identify the hazards on the work task. That is on the process of the work that you are going to do. You also identify the hazard just in the environment where you are operating from. Is this environment hazard areas? Because with the environment where things fall, so in such places you can't manage or go work in that place without putting on hazard. So even the environment, identify the hazard in which are inherent in that place or in that job. So work areas include but not limited to machine workshop, laboratory, offices, agriculture, horticulture, environment, stores, transport, maintenance, ground, lithographic, and lecture theatre and teaching spaces. So if a lecture is overloading students, that overload is an hazard to students, because students who end up being stressed, okay, psychologically, they have got that psychological defeat where things, a stressed person will not be the same power as someone who's not stressed. So even lecture theatre, there are some hazards. It can be from the lecturer himself or from the environment, where the lighting, the bulbs, the electrical connections, those things can be source of hazards. That can be included, but may not be limited to using screens, equipment, audio visual, industrial equipment, hazardous substance, teaching, dealing with people, driving vehicle. All these are hazard source. Okay? So besides identifying the hazards, there is another point which you have to consider, hazard point. The point at which the hazard may occur or is found. Okay? At those points within the physical operating environment that could cause injury, such as moving parts of machinery, working at heights, slippery surfaces, okay? Electrical energy, excessive noise, toxic substance, lifting heavy object among several other substances. Okay? So these are hazard points. If you're working in the mines, in a workshop where there are big machinery ever rotating and you are producing a lot of noise, you may end up damaging your ears, because the ears have got maximum decibels which it can take. So if that decibel is exceeded, then you may end up damaging your ears. Or at times we are at the workplace and then there is less manpower, but the workload which is there, or a machine or anything that is to be lifted, is so heavy that you can't lift it alone, and you force yourself to lift it. You end up breaking up your back or injuring your body. So, or working at an height, careless, without even a belt to protect you, to anchor you as you are working on that height. So that is a source of hazard or a point of hazard. So such kind of things has to be identified and find means to prevent the risk from occurring. Hazards, they are classified, okay, into two: the short-term and long-term effect of hazard workplace. Hazard gives two broad classes of hazards. These are safety hazards as well as healthy hazard. Safety hazard is bordered on or refers to circumstances that can cause immediate injury to workers. Okay, for example, if someone or if electrical equipment are not properly grounded and you happen to handle the cable which is not grounded, of course the live wire it to find you as a mean to connect to the ground, so the current will pass through you and then you will be electrocuted. So that is immediate injury to your body. Okay, imagine you drop something on your toys, there will be immediate injury there. So those are safety hazards. Okay, safety hazards, things that bring immediate injury, physical environment that could cause immediate injury. These includes machine injuries or machinery, point of operation. So take an example of breath machine. So the machinery itself, it has got electrical part, okay, and supply of electricity. It has got rotating members. It has got other things. So these the safety hazards, which includes machines or machinery such as point of operation, rotary and reciprocating movements. Let's look at an example of a lathe machine, the mother of machines. Okay, so it has it's a big machine, but it has got components which comprise of rotary and reciprocating movements. Okay, in non-nip and points, kickback from load due to sudden impact, loading, sudden blow from the weight load. In an event like where you are loading on a conveyor belt, so if the load is not loaded properly, it may splash back, okay, or kick back, and that F or that stone or that load may cause harm to a person operating or who is near that conveyor belt. There are flying chips, thrown objects such as flying stones propelled by mower blades. Okay, for processes like these lawn mowers or tractors, they propel stones as they are cutting down the grasses. Flying chips, like when you are cutting metals using like a grinder, there are always those flying chips. So it's imperative that you put on the protective equipment so that you are shielded from the cutting tips. Sharp projection from tools, edges, anvil of edge, projecting objects in load vehicles. Sharp tools. Ergonomics of every product is that it should be safe to use it, but at times when these machineries have got corners or edges which are sharp, such that when you don't touch it properly, it may end up injuring you. So there is fire and explosion hazards, electrical shocks, stunning, burn, and electrocution as a result of contact with exposed or uninsulated live wire. So that was the safety hazard. Now moving on to health hazards. Health hazard are situations associated with long-term exposure to certain substances, exposure to excessive level of noise levels, vibrations, It could be toxic material or nuclear materials. So such kind of materials or things or situations or environment doesn't provide there and then harm, but it's gradual. Okay, it builds up. Like people who works in the mines, who work in the quarry mines, uh, they inhale the silicas, they inhale things which build up. With time, those things result into diseases which affects these people. And those things are what we're calling health hazards. So health hazard can be both immediate, acute, and long-term chronic health condition. Okay. So in an event that we are operating a machine that is too noisy, with time we may feel, may get used to the noise, but eventually that noise, it implies that certain damage has been done on your eardrums, resulting to you adjusting to that noise. So long exposure to such machines or operation of machines may damage your eardrums in the long run. Vibrations, in situations where machines are operated and these machines provide vibrations, so the operator of that machine, his body is also vibrated. Imagine a situation where you are in a hammer mill, okay, and then the hammer mill is turned on, the ground is set on vibration, but we don't even mind it. But with time, such has got an impact with our health. Okay, in the long run, we see a situation where there is consequence of muscular disorder as a result of those regular vibrations. So those regular vibrations, if they are not damped, they may harm our bodies. Those working in sawdust or in the wood milling companies, there is always sawdust. They are inhaling that. As a result of inhaling those, it may result in air tract blockage, thereby causing carcinogenic effect on the skin. Harmful chemicals, okay? Talk of nuclear, okay? When those people who are exposed in that environment, they may be exposed to just small quantity, which may not trigger effect there and then, but with time, that small quantity is accumulating and hence resulting in very great catastrophe on the health of the very person. And let's look at the types of hazards. Okay, there are quite a number of hazards, but we are going to take a look at a few. Okay, they are categorized in terms of this category. Okay, this first one is physical hazard. Physical hazard could cause traumatic injury as a result of human exposure to the source. When I say the source is a hazard. Okay, anything that can cause harm. When a human body is exposed to the hazard, then there can be an injury done to the body. These hazards result from activities such as lifting, handling heavy loads, manual material handling, exposure to repetitive motion resulting from the suffocative system, or synchronous operations requiring intermittent hand and body movement. Slippery and tripping hazards, poorly maintained floor, working on oily surface, poorly designed stairs, cases, scaffold, or carelessness while working at height. Exposure to moving parts of machinery, exposure to unguided belts, gears, and chains. All these can cause physical harm or can be termed as physical hazards. Let us look at another type of hazard, chemical. These are injury caused by exposure to chemicals, e.g. batrics, acids, solvents, cleaner, pesticide, herbicide. Imagine a situation where you are in an environment, say in agriculture, okay? You are applying this liquid fertilizer or the weed killers, without any shoe on the mouth or nose. And then we are working over a close area, a big area. With time, those materials or those chemicals, they will get absorbed into your body and they will result into a problem. Those people like who work using a grinder is for cutting the material. It normally produces some dust. Okay, it's some chips as well as dust. So those dusts, as you are inhaling them, they have got an effect on your respiratory tracts. Fumes, welding, mist, vapor from mist, application, spray, gas emission. Welding, especially when you are working in a workshop, coming up with any product, we appreciate products, but we also appreciate good health. We don't want to have a situation where an engineer is able to come up with products which are spare, okay, which are well done, but is doing harm to the body. Want you to live long and continue impacting positively on engineering environment. So fumes from the welding, it implies that you have to put on something that has to protect you from this. So fumes, dust, acids, and other things that can be inhaled, that can be of great danger, the chemicals that can be of great danger on the body, these are categorized as chemical hazard. Let us look at biological hazard. These are hazards resulting from human exposure to pathogenic substance or material from sewage, lagons, aerobics, anaerobics. These pathogens include viruses, fungal bacteria, mold. They could cause an attack on blood and body fluid. Imagine you are working on a project to generate biogas. So biogas normally comes from materials, okay, or waste. It could be human waste or animal waste. So let's take an example of someone who's using human waste. So in those human waste, there are aerobics, there are anaerobics, bacteria, fungi. All these are accumulated into these human waste or sewage waste. So as you are treating these, you have to put on proper protective equipment for you to be not to be exposed to these biological hazards. So we want the gas, but the process to achieve this, it involves a lot of risks. Okay, so the waste itself, those fungi which are found in there are what we are calling biological hazards. So in an event we are working on a project that involves probably making biogas from the waste, you have to ensure that these biological hazards are prevented before you take on this project, okay, or eliminated. There is psychological hazard. Psychological hazards occurs as a result of unfavorable working conditions, inadequate and inappropriate work tools, working with old, on and out of fashion, obsolete tools and equipment, that undue exposure to hazard due to poor management response to change. Such situation often lead to psychological trauma, frustration, which could lead to a job depression, culminating in work stress, strain, and fatigue. It's like you are working in an environment where people are more interested in just a product, but not the means to get the product. So things which were gotten in long time ago, okay, archaic machines, they have worked for long, they have run out of efficiency, but the company is failing to replace them, and they are employed to work in such environment. Day to day, you'll be frustrated on how these machines are working, because you would love them to work faster, you would love them to work in a certain area or certain direction, but they are failing because they are incapable, they have been outdated, they are obsolete, and then the stress of you complaining that the management should replace this every day can lead to frustration. That is what we're calling now a psychological trauma or psychological stress. So that is a source of hazard. It's more like you have got a blunt knife and then want to cut meat. It won't cut. You take long to cut the meat. So you start complaining, why can't why can't they buy something better than this? So that complaint is what we're calling, it's what is resulting in what is work stress, strain, and fatigue. So this results into psychological hazard. There is another type of hazard which comes about as a result of the field which you have chosen, or the area of operation, or the occupation. Okay, occupational hazard. Apart from accident caused by carelessness and recklessness, workers are exposed to certain hazards in the course of their undertaking. A form of risk associated with the work that somebody does. So this they are associated with the kind of work that you are doing. So let us look at the risks which underground miners are faced with. Okay, as an example. So when they go underground, they move in a lock. In that lock, there is silica, there is dust, and whatever. So as they are moving, as they are doing the work, okay, that's what they enjoy. That's what they like. That's their passion. That's what their career. Them they're just doing to do as a career. But with time, they are inhaling some chemicals coming from the stones which are there in underground, silica and other things. In the process, in the long run, they are exposed or they start suffering from diseases or illnesses such as silicosis. Okay, so silicosis, a lung disease of miner, such they bring problems. Okay, so bones disease in workers exposed to phosphorus in manufacturing of matches. So those people are exposed to this phosphorus, they are working, but there is that hazard of them being exposed every time, like every time they get up, go for work, they are exposed. Every time they go to work, they are exposed. So that long exposure, they can bring a disease of bone to their lives. Okay, so after we have identified, we have defined and identified the hazards. The next stage is to assess the risks. So, what is a risk? A risk is a likelihood or possibility that harm, okay, injury, illness, death, damage, etc., may occur from exposure to hazard. So there is this hazard hanging, or there is this naked cable. Okay, so this naked cable is just a hazard, but by virtue of you being exposed to that cable, you just take your hand, this hand which is not protected to that cable, then you are at risk of electrical shock. Okay, so the risk is just the likelihood or possibility of that arm, okay, to occur from being exposed to that hazard. So risk management is defined as a process of assessing the risk associated with each of the hazards identified, so that the nature of risk can be understood. So you are assessing the nature of risk. You want to understand the nature of risk. What kind of illness, what kind of harm, what kind of damage could be caused if these hazards are finally come into contact, or it has fallen, or it has done this on the machinery. So you assess the level. Okay, what kind of risk could result to a person who is frequently exposed to chemicals, to nuclears? So you are analyzing the level. There are times where you can't eliminate the risk. So if you can't eliminate, like in nuclear plants, you can't eliminate completely the risk. So what do? You just assess the level of the risk. So if we expose people to low grade of nuclear or low levels of nuclear, for how long can they work without any problem? So it implies that the risk is still there, but we just reduce or minimize the level of it. So the nature, we identify the nature of risk that could be understood by anyone. So before you could go into anything, just understand the nature of risk by doing the risk assessment. This includes the nature of harm that may result from hazard, the severity of harm, the likelihood of this occurring. So if this hazard were to occur or to result into a risk, how many casualties will be involved? Imagine you have got a roof which is falling, or the ceiling board are falling in your office. So you are the occupant of that office or the occupant of that place. You are at risk. So for me to understand the risk there, I have to do the risk assessment to say how many occupants are in this place. What if this roofing or the ceiling board falls? How many persons will be casualties? So that is now the severity, okay? The level of severity. Who will be involved in the number and the likelihood of it occurring. Can it last for another year or it may fall anytime? Such kind of thing is what we're calling now risk assessment. Risk control. This is just implementing or putting in place measures to circumvent or to prevent risk from what happening, just to eliminate the risk. Okay, taking action to eliminate health and safety risk. Okay, so healthy, we know the health long-term injuries or harm to a body, and short-term, we want to eliminate these as reasonable possible. Where risk cannot be eliminated, the implementation of control measures is required to minimize risk for as far as reasonable practical. A hierarchy of controls has been developed and is described below to assist in selection of the most appropriate risk control measures. Thereafter, this is a process. After done hazard identification, risk management, and you have done, you have put up measures to prevent or eliminate these risks, you have to set up a monitoring plan. Okay, the monitoring plan. This monitoring plan should review what you have set up in place, whether those measures you have set in place they are helping to prevent the risk from occurring. So, if they are not, then find other alternatives to push on the risk or to prevent the risk from occurring. So, let us look at work health safety regulation from manager's point of view or officer's point of view. So, effective risk management requires that commitment of work health safety from managers and officers, as well as the input and involvement of the workers. So, if you are to carry out effective risk management, the managers, the employers, the officers, and the workers, these two have to be involved, not only one party. It's a two-way system. It's not like you can't stand, you can stand alone. It's a two things, like two legs. A person who is providing environment and the machinery, and the person who is going to be working on this machinery and in this environment, they have to work together to establish or to carry out the risky management in order to prevent risk from occurring. It is the responsibility of all managers and supervisors to ensure that this policy is fully implemented in their work areas of control and to consult with workers as part of undertaking the hazard identification, risk assessment, and control process. So, supervisors, managers, they have to adhere to work health safety regulatories. Okay, these regulatories have to be adhered to by these people who are providing employment to other people, so that they prevent risks from happening their workers, because it's expensive to continue experiencing accidents in a place of work, because you lose out on equipment, you lose out on labor, uh, resources, so you lose out a lot. So it's imperative that you reduce on these losses by carrying out risk management as the employer, also involving the workers. This includes providing effective and constructive information and feedback to the AO and the risk management process. Just like those who have worked in the mines, there is a department called SHU, Safety, Healthy, and other things. Okay, it's called SHU. That department, every day, it has got its members, okay, or representatives from the SHU department, who always engage workers from all departments. Okay, those who goes underground, the first thing they do is to undergo the reminder of safety rules that they have to abide to, and what to do when they see a situation that the environment they are operating from is of great danger to their health. So what they should do. So every day, these officers, they sit miners, they sit other people to talk about issues of air safety. There are times when people, some who come from home, they have reported for work, but home where they are coming from, they have left problems. Such kind of people are sat down by their bosses. So even the employers should be so sensitive. Okay, should have a sense of humor where it could see from a person to say this person is not himself or she's not herself. So that you sit them down, talk to them. What is it that is troubling you? Someone who has got problem at home, this person won't work well at the workplace. He may even end up injuring himself because the mind is not at work, the mind is at home. So such kind of people, they are sat down, talked to, and there are times even relieved of their job to go and attend to their issues so that they can come back in the right mind and do the right thing. So these officers, they have got that knowledge and understanding of hazards and risks associated with their operation, and ensuring that appropriate resources and processes are in place to eliminate or minimize the risk. So the workers can report to these officers or to the boss that there is this risk, and the boss can take it up to higher officers and probably set up a risk management plan on how to eliminate such risk. Risk assessment procedure. There is a procedure which there is a procedure to go about assessing the risk. Okay? So first thing first, whether you are working on any machine, be it a laptop, first thing first, you have to identify the hazard. So to a laptop, what could be the source of hazard? The light intensity coming from the screen is a hazard, because long exposure to high intensity light can damage your eyes. The cables which are bringing power to the computer, those are source of hazard. If you are naked, they can electrocute you. The sound, if you are listening to a music, the sound, what kind of headsets are you using? So the sound that is coming, they may be the hazard to your body. So first thing first, before you do anything, be it a computer, be it a work on a grinder, before you use a grinder, identify the source of hazard. On a grinder, the source of hazard first is the rotating disc, the electrical connection, and yourself, the clothing that you are putting on. It's a source of hazard. If they are so loose, those loose things can get entangled with the rotating element, and then you are in problem. Also, the operating environment. So that first thing first, whatever equipment or scenario I give you, be it in a test or an exam, I give you a scenario, say Give me the risk assessment procedure when you are working on a RF machine. You should know how a RF machine works, what type of hazards are there. So first thing is to identify the hazards. Okay? So identify the hazards. According to work health safety regulations in New South Wales, requires that person conducting business or any undertaking in consultation with the workers identify all potentially hazardous things or situations that may cause harm. In general, hazards are likely to be found in the following. Okay? Physical work environment, where you touch things, where you move in, those environments, they are hazards. Equipment, materials, substance, equipment which you are working on, materials, they may be of great hazard to your body. Work task itself, the process of carrying out the work, it may be hazardous. Okay? Work design and management, the way the work has been laid out and how it is managed, can be also the source of what? Hazard. In order to identify hazard, the following are recommended. Past incidences, accidents are examined to see what happened and whether the accident could occur again. To everything, most of the time, to everything, there is always a precedent. Something must have happened before. So you can't just wake up and do things from the blues. You always refer to what others have encountered before, what could have happened, what had happened in the area in the same environment, what accident happened, and examine and what measures did they put in place to prevent future accident. Employee be consulted to find out what they should consider safe issues or safety issues. So the very people who are in the front line working in that environment should be asked to say what is it that you should consider to be safety in this place, as to be safety issue in this place, and then they will itemize them because they are always there in that environment. They know which one can cause harm, which one may not cause harm, and other things. So the other thing is work areas or work site be inspected or examined to find out what is happening now, identify hazards, and they should be documented. So before any environment could be occupied for any operation, there must be hazard identification, risk assessment, and the control measures. But it is important that regular, okay, check-up on these hazards should be done, so that at least the documentation is everything that is happening, whatever news is developed there is documented to prevent further or to prevent this type of problem or risk problem. Information about equipment, plant operating instruction, material safety, data sheets be reviewed to determine relevant safety precautions. Welcome creative thinking about what could go wrong, take place. That is what hazardous event would take place here. So there are times where even workers can suggest something to say, if this and that is not done, this may bring hazard to our health, to our lives. So such creative thinking should be implemented or should be adopted so that we preserve lives of workers. So the second step in the procedure of risk assessment is to assess the risk itself, to assess the likelihood or possibility of the harm taking or the harm happening as a result of being exposed to the hazard. So you assess what is the severity, and then the level of injury, the magnitude, and other things. So risk assessment involves considering possible results of someone being exposed to hazard and the likelihood of this occurring. A risk assessment assists in determining how severe a risk is, where whether existing control measures are effective, what action uh, should be taken to control should be taken to control a risk, how urgent action needs to be taken. There are times when the action can take a year, but there are times when the action is emergency, it has to be taken in place now. So you assess, and then you also review health and safety information that is reasonably available from authoritative source and is relevant to the particular hazard. Evaluation of how severe the harm could be. Evaluate how severe, if these things before any workers, how many will be injured, how severe, what kind of damage will happen to the machinery. Is everything going to be bent down or anything? So you put a magnitude, you measure it, how severe this thing can be when it happens to people who are exposed to it or the equipment. Evaluation of how a hazard may cause harm. Determine likelihood, the chances of it happening. You can determine to say it's 100%, it's 50% of it happening. So you can determine the likelihood. If someone is being exposed to smoke, is being exposed to the gases, what's the likelihood of this person being infected with tuberculosis? So you can determine the likelihood. Okay, you can put it in terms of percentage so that risks are established. Identify the action necessary to eliminate or control risk. You identify the necessary action which will be implemented to control the risk. So after that, you identify the record that is necessary to keep to ensure that the risks are eliminated or controlled. So you record. Certain information may be not necessary to be kept, or certain information is necessary. So for future references, you keep it that way. The process of assessing the risk is undertaken by reviewing any available information about the hazard, legislative from this Australian Standard Industrial Code of Practice and guidance material about the hazard, and by using your personal work experience about what sort of harm the hazard could create and how likely this would be to happen. So there is what we call exposure factor, the likelihood of this thing to happen, or as this person is exposed to the hazard, there is that need to consider the number of times this person is exposed, what we are calling exposure factor, whether there are any other risk factors that increases the likelihood of exposure. How often is a person exposed? How long is a person exposed? How many people are exposed? And the likely dose to which the person is exposed in an event of chemicals, the likely dose to which the person is exposed, how many are exposed, the duration, all these help into calculations to know the level of risk this person may encounter as they are working in such environment. Below is just a table reflecting the categories of risk and how their description. Okay. For physical, the category of risk is a physical hazard. Okay. For category of hazard, there is physical hazard. Under physical hazard, we have a situation where someone is doing manual work. Okay. So under manual work, there is a guideline for hand work. The following guideline has been scientifically proved to influence effective of hand work handling operation. So avoid pressing needed tools or other item above shoulder height. So it's more like you are standing and the table is so closer to your shoulder and the machine is somewhere on the table and you are working like that. It's not advised. So when you are working on something, economics allows that machine should be in a position that allows you to work without straining and stressing your body. Position items that are used often within 17 inches or 430 millimeters of the worker. For standing work, use the proper standing height as shown below. So this is appropriate height as you are working on anything, be it on a bench work. It should be at the appropriate height near the waist, not so high, but just near the waist. At least you are able to maneuver your hand and do the work. Optimal work height of worker is based on body dimension. Elbow height is measured with upper arm in neutral position as shown in the figure below. So these are just further working. Sitting down while working reduces strain on the lower back and legs. Standing causes legs to swell more than walking does. The best job are ones that allow worker to do different types of work, changing from sitting to standing to walking and back again. Okay? And when movements are repeated over and over, as in picking from production line, weeding with all, allowing enough time in between each stroke or movement for adequate recovery, by having the worker alternate with low repetition task. Okay? So someone is from weeding where the hands are moving to and from. So it's good that that person who has got hands which are moving, like in rotating motion, as you are weeding with the oil, it's good that you switch from weeding, you go to picking up something like a box, a carton box which has got products. Those hands will be in the same position as you are moving. So hands have just alternated your position. That way the body will be in good health, and like we just continue to do the same work, the body will respond, okay, by the arm which will be done into your body. So these are just some of the guidance on handwork. There are quite a number of guidances on how to go about different works in a workshop, but others is for you to research. This is just a summary of a lot that is out there for you to research on work safety and health management in a workshop. It has been a pleasure having you on this class, or you listening to this lecture. God bless you.